Today I thought I'd do something a little bit interesting, and I was looking at the election matchup of Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, and it got me thinking about how past Republican nominees and past Democratic nominees have done on their own personal approval ratings, and then how they did in the general election. And I thought about this, and I decided I'm going to split this video into two parts. One part is going to be the Republican nominees. The second part is going to be the Democratic nominees. This video will come out first. The Democratic one will come out either the day after or maybe 2 days after. But I thought it'd be an interesting thing to look at. And I'm going to be doing this by going through the Republican candidates' polls as of the day I'm recording this, which is July 31st. And then I'm going to look at the polls on Election Day and see what the election matchup with the election map itself ended up being. So first things first, I'm going to start off in the 2004 election with President George W. Bush. So I'm going to go now first in 2004 to July 31st, if I can find it on the map. If not, August 1st will work fine. Yeah, it's having a hard time getting to it. So I'll still with August 1st. And on August 1st in 2004, George Bush had an approval rating of 47.3% approving of his job, 48.2% are disapproving of him. So that was a negative, 0.9% approved of President Bush. And the purpose of me doing this video is I kind of wanted to see how President Trump is comparing to past Republicans at this point in time in the race in 2024 compared to other Republicans and how it ended up being come Election Day. So Bush at this point in 2004 was negative 0.9 points, very, very close. And if we go forward to Election Day, I won't go to Election Day exactly. I'll just say, let's go to, that went too far. Let's just say November 1st. Let's see what Bush looked like on November 1st, if I can find it. Or November 2nd, all right. Bush was actually at 49.5% approved, 46.8% disapproved. So Bush was able to rebound his approval ratings up from being down by 0.9 to being up by, let's see, about 2.7% Bush was approved of. And now let's go to the 2004 election map. Oh, excuse me, don't want to spoil that yet. 2004 general election polls of Bush versus Kerry. Forget the map I showed you. I'll be going back to that in a second. So in this map of Bush versus Kerry, and there is a chart, so I'll show you. If we go to that same day of July 31st, where Bush was down 0.9% in the polls, Bush was actually trailing to John Kerry by 0.3% of the vote. So even though Bush was actually disapproved of at the time, Kerry was leading very, very closely in the presidential race in the polls. Now let's go to November 2nd, which is the day that I chose in the poll. Let's see if they have that. Or November 1st, the last one. Bush is actually leading the polls by 1.5%. This is what the ending number ended up being, where Bush ended up leading the polling average by 1.5 points over Kerry. And now we can go to the election map and see how it ended up being. In 2004 was actually a very close election, 286 electoral votes for Bush, 252 for Kerry. And this map is very interesting, especially when you think about 2024 and what the toss-up states are now. It's very interesting seeing, of course, Virginia being so red, Colorado and New Mexico being red. But it's funny, Wisconsin was very close, Michigan was very close, Pennsylvania was very close. That actually is a lot closer to how things are right now than 2012 or 2008 are going to be when I show you that. So that's interesting. But a very close election where, a lot of narrow wins in Ohio by 2 points, Colorado 4.7, Nevada 2.6. These states very well gave Bush the election, and had he not done well there, he might have lost. So definitely his approval rating going up seemed to definitely help him and pull off a narrow victory over John Kerry. It's funny, 2004 I feel like doesn't get talked enough about. It kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit in terms of past elections, but this is a very, very close one looking at the map, so that's very interesting. Now we're going to go to 2008 with John McCain. Since John McCain, when he was running, didn't win, the polling data is a little bit harder to find. The map for the RCP website isn't exactly working for this, but the favorable, unfavorable for McCain ended up being 10 points, 10.8% favorable, almost 11.8, or almost 11%, excuse me. And the way I'm gonna do John McCain is I'm gonna go down to, again, right around the area that I'm recording this. So around July 31st, I'll just look at the past few polls from like the 25th of July up until about the Quinnipiac poll here on about August 12th. So when you look at the range here, McCain was up 29 favorable, up 29 favorable, unfavorable by 1 by CBS News, and then Quinnipiac had him plus 18 favorable. So McCain actually enjoyed a very good stretch of being well approved of in this time period. However, of course, McCain faced the problem of running on Bush's job as president, where if we go back to Bush's approval ratings, at this point we can see around this time in July 2008, Bush was massively unpopular, only at 29.7% to 66% disapproved for Bush. So Bush's job was doing so bad that it may have actually had a negative impact on McCain. Well, we know it had a negative impact on McCain, but his approval ratings didn't suggest that. McCain was still well approved of at this time. It's just Bush's job approval rating was doing so bad, it was dragging McCain down. And McCain also was facing off against a certain young senator named Barack Obama, who at this point in July, let's go to July 31st, it was actually a very close race still. It was a 2.9% lead for Obama over McCain, 46.8 to 43.9. It was still very close. And as the polls see in the coming weeks and months, it's actually a very close race that was winnable at this point for McCain. At one point, McCain even took the lead over Obama in early September. So this race at this point was still very close, and you could argue a toss-up. And then around middle to late September, Obama starts to pull off a pretty sizable lead, and then towards the end of the election day, he really takes off. This is going to be a trend echoing 2012 that Obama has, where in the final week or two of the election, his approval ratings really start to kick off in the polls, and Obama ends up winning. This happened in 2012 as well, but it's interesting that the election ended off with Obama at about 51, McCain at 44, when back in July, it was still such a close race of only a few points. So we're talking about 2024, and like, could Trump or Harris both pull away at the end in the polls and make it a much bigger polling size win than it is right now? It's possible, because at least 2008 showed precedent for that happening. And now we'll go back to the electoral map and just see what it looked like. This was 2004. This was 2008. Obviously, a lot more blue. Obama won 365 to 173 over McCain. One of the biggest landslides we've had in modern political times, especially since the year 2000. The biggest electoral win for a candidate of either party. Of course, looking at the map now, you see North Carolina being blue, Indiana being blue. Definitely don't see that too much. Iowa being solid blue, Ohio being blue. Ohio being blue and Iowa being blue is not that weird when you consider that Obama won them both not too long ago, but now Trump has made these states solidly red, so it's a little weird to see now. But yeah, North Carolina blue, Florida being very close but still going for Obama. Colorado +9 for Obama. This is kind of the beginning of Colorado's trending to the heavily solid Democratic side. New Mexico +15 for Obama. Nevada +12. Nevada actually, like, it peaked for Obama in 2008 with being a very Democratic state, and now it's been shifting more Republican since, but that's interesting. Look at the Rust Belt, almost 14 points for Obama in Wisconsin, 10 points in Minnesota for Obama, 16 points for Obama in Michigan, 10 points in Pennsylvania for Obama. Virginia, Obama won by 6 at a time when Virginia was thought of a very Republican state, trending to become a swing state, but still a very Republican state. 6.1 for Obama. New Hampshire, 9 points. So very interesting that even though McCain's approval ratings were actually very solid, it's just that Obama was polling so much better, and given the national environment, McCain really had no shot when it came to the end of the election. So that was 2008. Now we're going to go on to Mitt Romney in 2012. Looking at Mitt Romney in 2012, again, we're going to go to July, about 31st of 2012, where we are right now. And it was actually, Mitt Romney's approval ratings were tied at the moment, 43.1 to 43.1. And one takeaway here is that at this point in time, either people didn't have a solid feeling about Romney, or he very well wasn't too well known yet. And that could be one thing for sure, but at this point in time, Romney's approval was still very split, and it was still a jump ball for how the 2012 election could go. And now we're going to go look at Obama versus Romney at this time on July 31st. And let's find it. And it was a 2-point race. Obama was up 47-45 over Romney. Romney pretty much throughout this election trailed Obama for most of it. It was very, very close, usually within a few percentage points, except when Obama kind of like skyrocketed back in February, where he was up by about 5 points or 6 points or so. This was kind of Obama's biggest lead, but it was very, very close for a long time. And going into the final day of July, it remained close. And then obviously as the fall got closer, things got much closer. Romney had a very good first debate. His numbers went up. At one point, Romney even took the lead over Obama in October, and it was looking like President Obama might be in trouble. But like I said, in 2008, Obama at the end, his polls and polling numbers started to skyrocket back up enough to have a narrow lead over Romney in the final polling average, which when Romney was up by about a percentage point or so a few weeks before that, it looked like that might actually not even happen. Obama was able to pull it off come November 5th, and Obama ends up winning the national popular vote by about 4 points. So it was very, very close through the end. And now we're going to look at Romney's approval rating at the end. And what happened? Well, the red is the favorable and the black is the favorable. And Romney ended up at 49.4% favorable to 44.1% favorable. Oh, excuse me. Actually, I was off by 1 day. It was 49.4% favorable, 44.6% favorable. So Romney was actually more approved of in the national polls by 4.8% than disapproved of. And Romney still, if we go to the electoral map here and look at 2012, Romney still lost. And it wasn't as much of a blowout in 2012 compared to 2008. I mean, when you look at the map, this is going to be mind-blowing. The election was much closer. Only 2 states flipped. Indiana and North Carolina both went for McCain, and this time around, they went for Romney. But the margins of the states flipped a little bit. Here's what I mean. Florida, for instance, 2.8 points. Obama won it in 2008. 2012, Obama won it by 0.8. Virginia, 3.9 for Obama. Now we look in 2008 and 6.3. Ohio, 4.6. Romney versus Obama, 3. So even though Romney only flipped back 2 states, this election actually was pretty closely decided. Because in these 3 states, Ohio, Virginia, and Florida, if Romney was able to win these 3 states, he either wins or it puts him very close to winning. So it says something that Romney, even though he lost, actually was polling pretty well. And I think both Trump and Harris, if they had Romney's approval ratings of about plus 5% approval, they'd probably be thrilled with that number. And it still wasn't enough for Romney to win, mostly because he was running against President Obama, who pretty much throughout his entire term was approved of pretty well. And I think Romney just kind of met like an unstoppable object here. But it's kind of very interesting how close 2012 really was. And so that was 2012. Now we're going to get into more modern, not modern, but modern-ish times with Donald Trump and the 2016 election starting off. Trump has been consistently, almost always been disapproved of compared to being approved of favorably or unfavorably. We go to 2016, and we're going to look at the same time we are now, looking for July of 2016. Here we go. July 30th of 2016, Donald Trump has 36% approval and 57.1% unfavorable. 21 points disapproved of in the polls. I feel like if any candidate now had that number, you would think, oh, they're getting absolutely demolished in the election. This shouldn't even be close. Let's test that, though. Let's go to July. Let's go to 2016, and let's look at the end of July. And this race was actually super close at this point, where Hillary Clinton was leading over Donald Trump on that same day by 0.4%. And I'm not going to be doing it in this video. I'll be doing it in the next one, but I have a feeling Hillary Clinton's approval ratings were definitely very, very bad right now, which explains why it was so close at this time. But this is coming off a part where Trump, despite his bad approval ratings, took the lead over Clinton. And this is something I'm sure lots of people in the media and polling world at the time just could not absolutely believe. So now, let's go back to Trump, and let's go towards around November 1st, around Election Day, close to it. And let's see what Trump was polling at then. Trump was at negative 19.7 points, so went up about 2 or 3 percentage points, but he was still disapproved of by almost 20 points. Trump was still disapproved of by almost 20 points. Now let's go to the final polls of Trump versus Clinton come around Election Day. And for the sake of consistency, I'll say it November 1st, where I just was. Clinton was up by 2.2 points nationally. And as we got even closer to the election, Clinton actually widened her lead, where she was up by 3.2 points. So polls at the end, Hillary Clinton did not improve much. She actually disapproved from the final few weeks. But Trump also disapproved. So it looked like at very least Trump was doing worse. And Clinton, on the polling wise, seemed poised to win. But as we know, in 2016, that did not happen. Donald Trump was able to do much better than Mitt Romney did in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. He was also able to win Ohio and Iowa and Florida, as well as sure up Indiana even more. And I believe he won North Carolina by, yes, about 1.7% more than Romney did. So obviously the big shock of 2016, in addition to Trump winning, was how he won, winning the states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Which, if you've been watching my recent videos, you can tell those states have been getting a lot of screen time recently. Because, like 2016, or maybe not so, but now they are the most watched, and I would argue most important swing states in the 2024 election. Trump won Pennsylvania with 48.58% of the vote. Clinton got 47.85% of the vote. So, not above 50%. Michigan, 47.5, 47.27. Not above 50% of the vote. And Wisconsin, 47.2 to 46.45. I can't stress this enough. Trump did not win these states by being the outright better candidate in this race. He seemed to win these states by just doing just enough to perform better than Clinton did. Clinton, I think, electorally was one of the weaker Democratic candidates, definitely of the 2000s, but also in modern political times, just by how she performed in the three Rust Belt states. She wasn't able to get, as Biden did, close to 50% or above 50% in these states. She was performing much worse than Obama did. Because again, Wisconsin, she got 46%. Let's go back to 2012. Obama got 52%. Obama got 54% in Michigan in 2012, and Hillary Clinton got 47%. Pennsylvania, 47.85. 2012, Obama got 52%. Obama got over 50% in every single one of these states, and Clinton could not do that in one of the states. That is the big reason why Trump was able to flip these states, because he was able to get a few percentage points gained in these three, while Clinton did much worse than Obama did. So that's mainly 2016. That's really much I have to talk about for 2016. And now we go to 2020. Where obviously, even though it feels like 2020 was yesterday, 2020 was somehow 4 years ago. I don't know how. It's gone by very quick. I don't know how that's possible, but that's somehow a fact. And on July 31st, back in 2020, Donald Trump was still disapproved of by 14.5%. But the difference this time around was he was running against Joe Biden and not Hillary Clinton. And I believe we're going to find out in the next video, Hillary Clinton was being, or Joe Biden was approved of much more than Hillary Clinton was. Trump was down 14.5 points. Let's go to July 1st of Trump versus Biden in 2020. July 31st. And Biden is up over Trump by 7.8%. 7.8% lead for Biden over Trump in the polls. And I mean, look, 7.8%, especially now with hindsight, that seems like a very insurmountable margin. And it certainly suggests that. And as we get closer to Election Day, things don't change all that much. It only goes down on average. It ends up going down by, 0.6 points? Trump seems to hover around 42% until he breaks. He goes down in October and then starts to go back up towards 44%. I mean, given the trend, Biden stayed about the same. Trump started going up. It's possible if the election were held in January, maybe Trump's numbers would have continued to go up, and the election may have been closer, and Trump finds a way to win, possibly. But I mean, the election was clear at this point in the polls that Biden was leading. And now let's go to November 1st, 2020, for Trump's approval ratings, and let's find it really quick. Let's go November 2nd. That's fine. I won't stay though. I'm trying to get to stay. It won't stay. Okay, November 2nd, 10 points for Biden over Trump, 42, approval, disapproval. Trump's got 42, unapproved 52. So Trump's margins actually got better in this time compared to what he was back in the summertime. But now we go to 2020, and of course, we all know how this went, where Joe Biden was able to win with 306 electoral votes to 232, the exact same number of electoral votes that Trump got in 2016. The exact same number. And this time around, though, Biden was able to flip back Wisconsin, flip back Michigan, flip back Pennsylvania, and then also flip Georgia and Arizona, two states that have been Republican strongholds for a very long time. I believe the last time, I'm not even sure the map has the last time they voted blue on here. Let's see, Arizona, that was back in 1996. Georgia was back in 1992 for Clinton. So both of these states have been Republican for at least 20 years. And it was definitely a surprise. Even though the polls showed them to be close, it was still a surprise to see them go blue. And what happened? Well, again, similar to what I was talking about with Clinton and Obama, Biden was able to outperform Hillary Clinton's margins just enough to win the state of Wisconsin. He did not break 50% of the vote either. Biden, similar to Trump in 2016, won Wisconsin kind of the same way, where he doesn't need to get a majority of the vote. He just needs to do enough to be better than Trump's percentage. Trump won by 0.6 in Wisconsin. Biden won by 0.63. So very, very close. Michigan, Biden just got enough to break the 50% number to win by 2.8%. Pennsylvania was similar, where Biden just got it by 50.01%, where just did enough to outperform Trump in those states. And then Georgia is very, very similar to what I was talking with Trump and Clinton in 2016 about the Rust Belt. Biden did not get 50%. He was very, very close in Georgia, 0.24%. Biden was able to get a plurality of the vote and win that state. Arizona, same thing, 49.36, 49.06. When you look at 2020, the big takeaway I think needs to be is just how close it really was. I mean, as you can see in the map here, 3 states were decided 0.63, 0.24, 0.31. 3 very important toss-up states, which we're still talking about now, were decided by under 1% of the vote. And if Trump wins those 3 states, he wins the election. And it's possible Trump may be able to win these 3 states this time around and win the election. That's why they're still being talked about so much. But even Michigan with 2.8%, Pennsylvania 1.2%, Nevada 2.4%, it's the same basic swing states from 2020 that are super close that we're talking about in 2024. The only difference this time around, though, is Biden was leading in the polls in all of these and was leading nationally by 7 points. We come back to right now, Trump versus Harris in the national average. That's not the case. Even though Harris has been surging as of late, Trump is still up by 2 points nationally, and depending on the polls you look at, still leading in a lot of the swing states. For instance, Trump's up by 2.7 in Pennsylvania on the average, and Georgia by 3.6. That would be enough to give Trump the win. So it's very interesting to see how this changes because, I mean, look, Harris has only been in the race for a little over a week now, coming up on 2 weeks. But the simple fact is, yes, Harris is polling better. Yes, Harris has the momentum. And honestly, yes, Trump's approval ratings, if you find them here, are still not that great when you look at it. August 1st, coming up now, where Trump is negative disapproved of by 8 points. That's not good, but it's close to the best he's ever had. There was maybe a little time back in 2016 where it was only a few points, but since then, this is the best Trump has ever been approved of, disapproved of in the margins. And when you look at it, Trump is performing pretty well right now versus Harris, especially considered that he, I don't think, had led in the national polls against Biden or against Clinton. If he did against Clinton, it was very, very briefly, only for a few days. So this is the first time Trump in 2016, 2020, and 2024 has really led in the national polls, which has to give Trump something to feel pretty good about. And as I've done just really briefly, as I was talking about, just to put it on the map and show you what I mean, if Trump can win Pennsylvania and win Georgia on top of every other state he won last time, that gets Trump to 270 and Trump would win. So yes, I understand why Democrats are feeling very good right now, how Kamala Harris has been surging in the polls. Going from Biden to her definitely seems like there's a bit of a momentum shift, a momentum boost. But Trump is still right now in a pretty decent position to win in 2024. And if I thought if the election were held today, I think Trump would still win in 2024. So that'll do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to like this video and click subscribe so you get notified when I make future videos like I'm going to do tomorrow or the day after, which will be going over the Democratic candidates for these elections. This one was the Republicans. I'll be doing the Democratic candidates after this. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.